What are variables? Well, they're pretty simple. They are containers that hold information. Or in computer science, we usually call it data, or data, however you want to pronounce it. And what we can do with variables is stick information inside of this container, and it's there to be retrieved or accessed later, and potentially be replaced and changed with something else. Kind of like this water bottle is a container that holds water. There's two different kind of types of variables. There's regular variables and there's constant variables. Regular variables meaning that I've put in some data, maybe that's how much water I have inside of the container, and later on maybe I want to take some out. And I adjust very slightly the amount of water in the container. I can do that with a variable. Variable, it varies, it's able to be changed. However, I can also make variables constants, where I say, I got what I want inside of it, and I want this to be, I just realized the seal isn't perfect on this thing. Perfect kind of little, yeah, I twisted it wrong. So bad example, because it just leaked water on the floor, but technically, if this was a coding constant variable, the water would have stayed inside. So constants, we lock things inside. We can take a look and see how much there is and get a sense of what value is contained in it, but we can't change the value because it's a constant. Now, depending on the coding language that you're writing in, variables can behave in slightly different ways. So here we have a coffee cup, coffee mug, that kind of must contain coffee. My wife's actually kind of picky about these things. If I put a different type of drink in like a teacup or a coffee mug, she gets annoyed because she says it picks up the flavor of the other drink. So that's a case of a Java style variable where this container is meant for coffee and nothing else. And if I was to try to put something else in, my wife would get annoyed at me. Or I have this bowl that I finished my lunch in. This is meant to hold food type things. And I shouldn't be putting other stuff inside of it, otherwise I might contaminate my food in real life. But some coding languages don't allow you to do that. Other ones, like Python, they consider a container as a container and kind of anything goes. I could, if I wanted to, take my water bottle and just pour it into my lunch bowl. Now I might use this to clean it. Don't use the metaphors too strongly here, but in Java, this wouldn't be really allowed or desired. But in Python, you're more than welcome to. However, that flexibility has some drawbacks because now I have a bowl full of water, and that's kind of odd. I guess I could drink it, but kind of distasteful. So in Java, you kind of know what you're getting in a container because it has to be defined and very clear from the start. In Python, you're more flexible to combine things as you like. Here's one more example for you. Here I have a bucket, and I could say, I'm gonna stick a value, like this number 7, in the bucket. This is now a container or a variable holding an integer value. In Java, you'd have to explicitly say it is. In Python, it would just know that it is automatically. And later on, if I want to know what does this container hold, I take a peek inside, it has this number 7 inside of it. That's the value assigned to this variable. Or maybe I want to define this as a bucket that holds a double, a decimal value number. I got some values of pi, I can stick it in, and it's retrievable later. Maybe this is a constant one where I want to kind of like lock it. I'm not allowed to change this at all. I could hold a Boolean value inside of a container, true or false. In this case, I'm holding false as what's being held inside of this container. Or maybe I held some string information like hello world. Let's stick that inside and I have a string type piece of data. However, this bucket has a label that says 6-sided dice. In Java, we label all of our containers. So they have to have, and they're only allowed to hold the thing that they're labeled. So I have this big 6-sided dice. In Java, I'm allowed to put that in there, and it holds it no problem. I can take it out to look at what the value is, or maybe manipulate it or work with it in some way. I could also maybe take a smaller dice and stick it in as well, because it's still the same type of thing. Is it a 6-sided dice? If it is, it's allowed into the container, and I can pull it out later and work with it. In Python, these labels don't exist, or at least not in the same way. Let's make sure there's no label showing. The label is inferred by whatever's inside of it. So there's no label on the outside. Whatever I stick inside of it, maybe I want to stick in this pen. This is now a pen container. How do I know? Because I look inside and I see there's a pen. That's what Python does. It goes, what kind of container am I? Oh yeah, I'm a pen. Later on, we're gonna learn about containers that hold more than one thing. For now, in this video, this idea, a dice and a pen are just, no, don't go there just yet. Containers, variables right now, just hold one thing. Later on, we'll talk about arrays and lists that can hold more than one thing. It gets a little more complicated. But for now, the basic idea here, variables are containers that hold information or data, and depending on the language you're using, it might be picky about the things that it holds, or it might just say, whatever goes. Stick whatever you want in me, and I'll figure it out from there.